Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo. Third officer reporting.
Narration.
The other members of the crew. Kane. Lambert.
Can you read a little faster, please, Ripley? After all, you read these lines a lot faster in the movie. Is she building a pod racer?
Ripley?
Just to throw the player off for a few seconds, let's have this guy say Ripley to a character whose face is hidden so the audience can be fooled in believing it's Ripley from the movies and not some other Ripley.
It's about your mother. We think we may have found her, Amanda.
In this game, you play as Ripley's daughter Amanda. You know, that character Ripley learned had grown old and died while she was in cryosleep. The character you don't even learn about unless you watch the director's cut of Aliens. Bet you were just dying to learn what her story was, weren't you? Funny thing, it's almost identical to her mother's ordeal, only you already know she will survive and live to a ripe old age.
Look, Ripley, when this job came across my desk, I read the case history. I know why you're working in the region where she went missing. I've been cleared to offer you a place on the Torrance if you want to come along.
There's no reason for Samuel to care so much about Amanda finding information on her mom since they've never met. Plus, he's an android that doesn't actually feel emotions. But someone has to get this plot rolling. The developers of this game figured out how to make sweat look really good, and they got their money's worth out of that by using the effect in every cutscene. Apparently air conditioning is a no-go in the future.
Maybe there'll be some closure for you.
Didn't any of the other crew members of the Nostromo have family? Why is Ripley singled out? The company hasn't even heard the final log from Ripley to know that she survived the xenomorph attack. This game deserves credit for nailing the look of the original Alien. All of the technology and user interfaces come straight out of how people in the late 70s and early 80s imagined sci-fi. All analog and chunky as hell. This is something even the prequel movies can't get right. With tech that looks more modern and advanced than what was in Alien. This ship consists of a crew of one android, a lawyer, an engineer, and the captain and pilot. I don't think you could even fly this thing through space with a crew that size, let alone be effective at retrieving the flight recorder. Warning radio message is broken and distorted cliche. I'm pretty sure he's saying, "Turn away, it's the Prometheus sequel." Since Sevastopol station isn't responding and the radios are out, let's send you over on a spacewalk with no guarantee that you will even be able to get inside, and no knowledge of what you'll find inside. They should all be dead after this. Space isn't a place where you get lucky breaks once everything goes tits up.
Samuels! Taylor! Respond! Anybody!
Ripley should be able to see where Samuels and Taylor are. They were just separated, and the space around her is visible. Not to mention their suit radios should have no problem communicating out here. And the ship they rode in on should be in communication with all of them. Yet inexplicably, all of them broke their radios at the same time they were separated. Gravity only turns on when there's oxygen in the room. Here's an excellent example of a map that's been smartly designed to amp out the suspense without relying on gore. The ceilings are low and usually just above head height. This makes you feel cramped and claustrophobic. It's more effective at creating atmosphere than any jump scare ever could be.
Where'd you come from? Ripley?
Off station. A ship.
There's no ships here!
There are a lot of people still stranded on this station, so Axel following then holding Ripley up and demanding to know where she came from makes no sense, since his next line is about how no ships show up here. Wouldn't he just assume she was another survivor like all the others?
Allow me. Place is old. Needs a special touch. Well, what are you waiting for? Hit the button.
Well, you said the place needs a special touch. Apparently that was only for opening the elevator door, not the floor buttons.
Like I said, there's a killer.
A killer. What does that even mean?
I ain't seen it, but it's here. Picking us off one by one.
What are you saying? A psycho? A person?
No, something else. A monster.
Axel is really good at beating around the bush while Ripley throws out possibilities for him to clarify. Anytime Ripley is separated from a person by a pane of glass, you can assume something bad is about to befall the other person. Since the drill was dripping on Axel from above, the xenomorph had to be up there when it speared him with its tail. Yet after that, Axel is dragged by the tail through a vent in the wall. Slowest trams in existence. These things take forever. So long, in fact, that I don't even think it's hiding loading times. They just did it to hopefully make you feel tense during the wait. Network security is pretty lacking in this world. Hacking security systems can be done by what amounts to a Game Boy that displays the security code in bitmaps that the user simply selects.
The flight recorder.
That could really be any flight recorder. This is a space station where other ships dock, so it being the Nostromo's flight recorder is pretty convenient. The xenomorph is really good at dropping down into the room Ripley is hiding in, not so good at staying and searching for her.
Hello? My name's Ripley. Amanda Ripley. I need your help.
Please take a seat. Someone will be with you shortly.
Apparently no one at Seekson ever heard of Uncanny Valley, since it's almost like they went out of their way to make their working Joe androids as unsettling as possible, right down to giving them a smoker's voice and glowing red eyes.
Samuels! You're alive! It's Ripley!
Ripley! Taylor, it's Ripley.
Ripley finds Samuels and Taylor as soon as she turns on the security monitor. She didn't even need to cycle through feeds. Hell, Samuels looked like he was expecting her, since he had his face right in front of the camera when Ripley turned it on.
Seegson's got this place locked tight. Their goddamn androids are killing people!
That's impossible. It's contrary to primary synthetic program.
I'm surprised even the androids buy this line about how they can't hurt humans.
You and Taylor need
Ripley,
to make...
Taylor is hurt. She was injured by debris during the crossing.
How bad?
I can't move her. I need medical supplies.
Well, you would have had to move her here, so you could probably move her a little bit further to medical, which you're right next to. Also, Taylor was injured in the explosion that separated them during the spacewalk, meaning her suit must have been punctured and she still somehow survived long enough to get inside the station.
Okay. I'll come to you.
Prepare to spend the next hour trying to get a medical kit for Taylor, who then proceeds to disappear from the plot for the rest of the game until one final scene near the end. Dr. Coleman talks to you from behind glass, so you can pretty much tell how this relationship is going to end. Video recording wasn't this bad in the 80s, and when we imagined sci-fi in the 80s, we thought we would have better reception than this. This is just another example of developers thinking busted video makes something scary. I have to give credit to this game for its lack of scripted jump scares. Very rarely does a xenomorph use a scripted jump scare. It's almost always the AI sneaking up on you and then making you jump, and that I can get behind. Strangely, most of the scripted jump scares are environmental ones like fire erupting from walls.
Medical reception's a no-go. I can't get out.
That's the only way through. Ripley, this is a public hospital. There has to be an evacuation procedure.
Nearly every objective in this game is solving an increasing number of technical difficulties just to restore the status quo. You will spend half of your time powering up generators, establishing communications, and fixing broken doors and elevators, and the other half hiding in closets from the xenomorph. Ripley survives this. I mean, that's an explosion inside a space station, a pure oxygen environment, and Ripley was just meters away from the explosion.
I sent you a clear directive not to land on station.
I told you we didn't hear your message.
Next time you know the station's comms are controlled by an AI that isn't letting messages out, make sure your warning is in text instead of video. Much easier to send and less chance a message will be scrambled. Also, shouldn't you have wanted a ship to dock so you could be rescued?
Taylor needs attention.
Medical's a no-go. We can't take her there.
We have a basic life support unit back at HQ. We need the transit to get to HQ, but it's down. Transit control is upstairs.
You mind explaining how you got here to medical if the trams are down when you need them running to get back to your base of operations?
Go make yourself useful, seeing as you screwed up the trap.
Actually, she accidentally led it right into the trap, assuming weight means the barrel's full of explosives. Your trap just didn't work, my dude. It didn't even kill Ripley.
I'm here for personal reasons. My mother was on the Nostromo when it went missing 15 years ago.
We never found her ship, Ripley. Just the recorder.
It makes zero sense that Marlowe and his crew found the Nostromo's flight recorder. Ripley recorded her final messages while she was in the lifeboat just before going into cryosleep, and the recorder they found contained that message, meaning Marlowe followed the same beacon that Nostromo did to LV-426, where his wife was infected by a facehugger, then while en route to Sevastopol, stumbled across the Nostromo's flight recorder in space, I guess. Plus, there's this scene in Aliens that makes this even more impossible.
The lifeboat's flight recorder corroborates some elements of your account.
I want to know everything.
When Ripley said she wanted to know everything, I doubt she meant a POV flashback of every single moment of your crew's final expedition on LV-426. It all started when we put on our spacesuits and slowly walked out onto the planet. Then one of my crew made a small dick joke about someone. Then we slowly walked around for a while until we found the derelict ship. Then we slowly walked inside. Behold the majestic and now entirely tired and overused visual created by the late H.R. Giger. It worked great as a prop in the original movie, but now it's to blame for Prometheus and Alien Covenant. The space jockey never needed a backstory. This is starting to go beyond being an homage to the original movie and into straight up reenacting the first movie. The life cycle of xenomorphs is entirely too dependent on people being stupid enough to stick their dumb head in front of an egg that just opened.
Let's hope this thing works.
It's an animal. Animals are afraid of fire.
I'm betting your life on my assumed knowledge of an alien species. The flamethrower destroys the suspense of hiding from a xenomorph, since if it discovers you, you can now just spray fire at it to make it run away. As much as I like the convenience and increase in pacing it provides, it can't be denied that the game is less scary because of it.
Wait, the creature. How are we gonna seal it in?
The Spire was built to process high-value compounds dredged up from the gas giant. Piracy precautions are still in place. The tower can be shut off, vents, doors, everything. So, build a cage around the creature, then Ricardo locks it down.
If the plan to trap the xenomorph sounds familiar to you, it should, since they tried the same thing in Alien 3. And this plan works about as well here as it did then.
I'm sorry, Ripley.
There was really no reason to eject Ripley along with the alien. She was right at the exit when Waite shut the door out of fear that the xenomorph would escape again. Ripley has time to get his spacesuit on despite the alarm beeping furiously that it's about to open the doors. Ripley survives yet another untethered spacewalk where she slams into the side of the station right next to an access hatch.
Wait, for God's sakes, Apollo's let the androids off the leash. They're attacking on sight.
I don't know what the hell this is. They're not just responding to trespass violations, it's like they're hunting.
After jettisoning the alien, the working Joe androids started indiscriminately killing everyone even if they are not in a restricted area. The game never explains a sudden change in behavior. They were already under orders by the Apollo AI to keep people out of important areas. Killing the alien shouldn't heighten their biohazard containment protocol. The rolled up magazine down the throat is such an unusual way of killing someone that I think androids must be programmed to do it. The developers did realize that was an allegory for rape, right? They didn't miss that? Because that's not something you should do for nostalgia's sake. Samuels talks with Ripley through a pane of glass while trying to communicate with Apollo. All evidence suggests he's about to die.
Apollo transit is open. Once you get into the core, it will talk to you.
You did that for me?
I wanted Amanda Ripley to have closure.
But why though? Why were you so fixated on helping Ripley and her mom? You had never met either of them until you told Amanda about the flight recorder. Were you programmed to care too much?
I want data. The location of the planetoid where you found the derelict. All data you have on the origin of that organism.
Taylor was unconscious for most of her time on the station and never encountered the alien, and she was unaware of xenomorphs before all of this, so she has no reason for taking such an interest as she lets Marlowe out of his cell. To get inside the reactor core, Ripley has to leave her weapons behind in a security room. A short time later, inside the reactor core, Ripley finds a new pistol and shotgun just lying at the bottom of the ladder, which is so convenient that it's borderline divine intervention. All the employees here subscribe to the Post-it Note School of Password Security. Weyland-Yutani bought Sevastopol 2 days after Ripley left for the station. The reason being that they wanted the xenomorph Marlowe brought on board inside his infected wife. However, Weyland-Yutani already know the location of LV-426, and should be planning to build a colony there soon enough by this point in the timeline. They don't need to buy a rundown infested space station to get one. Also, how come they didn't send a retrieval team to capture the alien after buying the station and locking it down? Protect your investments, guys. Right outside the alien hive, Ripley finds a new flamethrower. This is now Deus Ex Machina territory. Why even take her weapons from her if you just have to awkwardly give them back later? Turns out there were a lot of aliens on board the station, but only one ever left the hive and actively hunted people, which flies in the face of everything we know about their behavior. And we know there was only one hunting since everyone stated there was only one. And after it was killed, there were no further alien attacks until now. There should have been no one left alive on this station by the time Ripley arrived. I guess they couldn't hold off doing the scripted jump scares forever. Good effort though. The handheld upgrade that lets Ripley hack the higher security doors to access the ambulance shuttle is in the same room with the first high security door she comes across. So why even bother adding this? This game seems to weirdly alternate between padding and just giving you the things you need.
Hey Ripley, welcome to the Anisadora.
Marlowe? Where are you, Marlowe?
Thanks for switching the power back on.
Marlowe somehow knows that Ripley is the one on board his ship that turned the power back on. I mean, they've only met and talked once. This isn't one of those I know your every move before you make it kind of situations.
This is for my daughter. Hi, Amanda. I'm recording this for you.
I'm recording this just in case the director's cut of Aliens contains a deleted scene about you and they need a premise for a video game 29 years later. You wouldn't believe how often that happens.
Don't worry. Don't worry about me. I'm sure I'll see you very soon. I love you, sweetheart.
Since Amanda now knows that her mother is alive and floating in cryosleep somewhere in space, and has the flight recorder data that would let her narrow down the search, you would expect her to keep searching for her mom since that was so important. But given how Aliens begins, Amanda must have been satisfied knowing just this and stopped looking for her mother. Marlowe holds Taylor hostage behind a plate of glass while he sets his ship to self-destruct. I don't understand why windows were chosen to be the death flag in this game. Why did Marlowe even bring Taylor with him onto his ship? He wants to destroy Sevastopol to keep Weyland-Yutani from getting their hands on the xenomorph, and she's going to die anyway when the ship explodes. He didn't even assume he would need a hostage. After she let him out of his cell, he should have ditched her. No. Glad we spent all that time getting a triage kit to save Taylor earlier. Thanks for the memories. While realigning the comms array, there are innumerable pieces of space debris flying around. This would be enough to shred Ripley and destroy Sevastopol, since high-speed debris, even when it's small, is a well-known deadly hazard in space. Ricardo's only mistake was sitting behind a pane of glass while talking to Ripley over the radio. Ripley makes getting free from a cocoon seem easy. I'm surprised this holds anyone long enough to be infected by a facehugger. Those trams could go that fast this entire time? Why the hell did Ripley have to wait several minutes for them to arrive all the time then?
What do you need me to do?
Get out the airlock and EVA over to the maintenance platform. There are explosive bolts on the emergency release. Hurry!
We couldn't do that on our own for some reason, even though it would have meant our deaths. I'm not the guy to lecture anyone on the biology of xenomorphs, but I call bullshit on them being able to survive and move around in the zero-gravity vacuum of space. And even if they can, there is no reason for them to be out here. Not that many people to be found on the hull of a space station. That's the third time Ripley has been sent flying in space, and the third time she has miraculously survived by crashing into the place she needs to go. Ripley shouldn't have even gone flying. She tethered herself to the railing just before blowing the emergency dock release. During cutscenes, xenomorphs are awfully slow to kill Ripley, like this one that snuck aboard the Torrens and slowly paces toward her until Ripley opens an airlock. Ladies and gentlemen, we have cover art.
fuck are we gonna do now?